in case you confused it with Los Angeles, Tanzania.
Oh hey, another one of those sins that's angry about the film giving us the setting. I'm sure you'll try to justify this type of sin by saying that LA is famous, and most people know where it is, so I'll counter by saying that if this film wants to be consistent, then they have to tell us the state, considering they also give us Philadelphia as a setting and far less people know where that city is.
Single file, gentlemen. Center of the hall. Come on, tighten it up.
Tighten what up? There's only one way to do single file that I'm aware of, and this is a very good representation of it.
Huh? This is nowhere near a very good representation of single file. You know, considering you can see the kids on either side of the CO.
He passed before you were born, but you had a father.
What was his name?
Apollo! Oh, yeah, well, I guess that works too. Especially since you need a dramatic answer to this question that also describes the title character who isn't dead.
Dude, this isn't a sin of the movie. It's an artistic choice. So, once again, Jeremy hates art.
In case you confused it with Tijuana, North Korea.
As with sin number 1, this is for consistency's sake, not to mention that even fewer people know where Tijuana is. I mean, the real sin is that the movie lists it as Tijuana, Mexico instead of the state, Baja California.
Since this movie is already over 2 hours, do we really need to see Adonis' entire ascent up the stairs?
In a film that's known and praised for unbroken shots, yes, it builds tension.
Also, you know it's a Rocky movie when they use footage from a previous Rocky movie to inflate the runtime. Wait a minute, that makes the original Rocky movie not a Rocky movie? I've been destroyed by my own logic.
Well, if you know that your own logic is broken, why was that a sin for the film?
What I gotta put up for?
5 seconds of this guy's boxing stats and 6 seconds of this guy's boxing stats.
What's this? Pointing things out on the screen? Especially words that we can all read?
I'd have knocked you out myself.
Since that is apparently a sin, 3 seconds of CinemaSins doing something they just sinned the film for.
In case you confused it with, you know what? This movie does this a lot. Here's 5 sins, mainly because this movie is going to have so few, and that drives me crazy.
So apparently, if a film is good, it makes Jeremy angry because he cannot unfairly pad the sin count. Yet he still does it anyway. 5 sins for padding the sin count, bro.
I want to talk to you about training me.
Training? I don't do that stuff no more.
Because then we get Rocky 5.
You know, I get that Jeremy is trying to make a joke about perhaps the worst Rocky movie, but it doesn't make sense because Rocky 6 was extremely well received. And that was the one before Creed.
How do you know all this?
How do you think?
Sure, let's give a guy who's been hit in the head more times than a whack-a-mole a guessing game. No, really, I'm sure he can work it out during the 135-minute runtime. No need to get to the story or anything.
Hey, moron. This is the story. Adonis being Apollo's son is literally the point.
Who won the third fight?
You did.
You see how unsatisfying the answer is? Why couldn't this just be kept a secret? The last shot of Rocky 3 is one of the most magnificent cop-outs ever, but I always thought the point was, did it really matter who won?
That's not unsatisfying. Apollo was the better fighter than Rocky. It makes sense that he won the third fight, and them not telling us who won for 33 years is almost as bad as the wait for Half-Life 3. Or Half-Life Episode 3.
Also, this is the last we'll see of Wood Harris in this movie. Look, if you're gonna give us Wood, give us one that lasts for a while, not the 6-hour Wood.
Skip!
Movie's idea of character development is literally typing it out on the screen.
Padding the sin count by sinning something you already have. Not to mention, this is a supremely clever way of introducing boxers in a boxing movie.
Look, this is tremendously convenient for him to see this poster, and it's Thursday. But does he really do a double take because he thinks it's the girl from his apartment? The poster looks nothing like the woman he scolded earlier.
The poster looks nothing like the woman. Are you serious? So you completely missed the skin tone, the lips, the eyebrows, the nose, and Tessa Thompson's big-ass forehead?
I got a few. That's it, okay?
As if it were baked into the formula, every Rocky movie goes through this fighter wants a guy to train him, but the trainer doesn't want to phase. It's always too dangerous. The trainer is always too old. To move this along, I would have accepted a plotline where Apollo somehow made Rocky promise that if Drago killed him, Rocky would train his illegitimate son if he ever came knocking. And we would have seen the shit out of that, but it'd still be more fun than this I'm not gonna train you, okay, I'll train you nonsense.
Oh hey, Jeremy admits 2 things I've always said about him. He sins things that he asks for and things that he likes. Considering this channel uses the word sin as a euphemism for something that's wrong, what the f***'s the point of this series?
So are you back there drawing this, drawing that? What's a drawing?
It's a noun.
Okay.
It's like a see, these is joins, this is a join.
So it's like your version of Smurf?
Jeremy doesn't get black slang, so he makes a Wonder Bread joke. Also, what do you mean you're
Also, this will be the last time we hear of John, so I'm glad we took a journey down that road. I think we're better people now.
It's called characterization, Jeremy. Adonis is from LA, and John is East Coast slang, something that if you heard and they never explain, you'd attempt to sin.
You serious?
I am serious. This is old school.
Yes, we all remember that great moment in the original Rocky when he chased after chickens to build up his speed and hand-eye coordination. After that, it was catching a fly with chopsticks. Classic.
What is this a criticism of? It's a throwback to something that was humorous in the second Rocky film and was actually effective. The whole point here is that Adonis is getting unorthodox training, which is what you get when you ask Rocky to train you.
Running, jumping rope, push-ups, pull-ups, montage, excitement! They must have decided to leave out the subplot where Adonis contracts a multitude of STDs and a major staph infection after sleeping in the unwashed poly bed linens.
Pretty sure you can't contract an STD just by lying on a bed. Oh, I get it. Jeremy doesn't know what the S stands for in STD. Explains why you only have cats and no children on your Twitter, Andy Stitzer.
I want him to make a name on his own. Come on, Pete.
You know the best way not to bring attention to yourself? Don't go to Philadelphia and have Rocky f***ing Balboa train you.
Adonis goes by Donnie and is known to the boxing community as Hollywood at this point. Simply having Rocky train him doesn't mean people will immediately put two and two together. Unless you're suggesting that every black kid that hangs out with Balboa is related to Apollo. Because that's racist.
I'm freaking out, okay? I'm freaking out right now. I gotta take a Somebody gonna wipe my ass for me?
Of all the things to show that Donnie is nervous about his first big fight, this is what you pick? Classy dialogue, and in front of his girlfriend, no less.
Hold on. This movie is lauded for its realism, and that's the realest shit I've ever heard. Literally.
I see Adonis is taking the Rocky approach of the best defense is to get punched a ton in the face and still come out a winner technique.
Well, I mean, not everyone is Floyd Mayweather, and even he gets punched in the face a few times.
You got something you want to tell me?
I understand Donnie wanting to make a name for himself, but did he really think he'd be able to keep the secret that he's Apollo's son from everybody? Remember, this is a fight involving the number 4 light heavyweight in the world, a fighter trained by Rocky Balboa himself, and big enough to promote with full-size banners. Any boxing writer would have figured this out just like Pete did earlier.
As I explained earlier, Adonis isn't using his father's name. Simply because he's with Rocky isn't enough justification for people to make the leap connecting him with Apollo. You said it yourself. Adonis is Apollo's illegitimate son. No one knows he exists.
A little history on Apollo Creed. I certainly have him right up there as maybe the best of all time.
It's a little weird when they put real sports talk shows in these fictional movies. They obviously talk about real-life sports stars like LeBron James and Tiger Woods. So Apollo Creed is maybe the best fighter of all time is a statement that suggests Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, and others must have never fought in this world.
No, it only suggests that Michael Wilbon believes Apollo was better than those guys. Not to mention, in Rocky VI, Ali and Louis are both confirmed to have existed.
In the late 60s, a simulated fight took place between two legends, Muhammad Ali and Rocky Marciano.
I found this on next payday.
So earlier, Ricky Conlon punched Danny Wheeler and broke his jaw before the fight, so the fight was canceled, and Ricky got sued for it. Now the movie is going to say that Donnie is the only boxer Ricky can get good money fighting. Like there aren't any other willing and famous boxers the public would pay tons of money to see.
That's not how the boxing world works. People care about storylines. This is why the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was as hyped as it was. Not because people on either side thought it'd be a good fight, but because it was a compelling matchup. Ricky is disgraced at this point, and Adonis presents a compelling storyline.
It's also pretty hilarious that Apollo Creed's son is dominating the news cycle as if people deeply care about boxing enough in 2015 to put it on the front page.
This is contradictory to your previous sin. You suggested that the public would pay tons of money to see Ricky fight other boxers, and now you're suggesting that the sport isn't popular enough for that same public to care.
Can't do it. It's not my name. Plus, I want to make it on my own merit anyway.
This whole making it on my own thing is very noble and all, but he kind of already has made it on his own. And because of that, everyone discovered who he was. So the quicker this avenue of the film is retired, the quicker the film gets to Creeding.
All Adonis is saying is that he doesn't want to live in his father's shadow. He eventually accepts that he is his father's son, completing a character arc. You know, the thing that's integral to good stories.
See that? Hey, good looking, baby Creed.
Well, call me that.
I know this movie sets up Donnie as a kid with a major chip on his shoulder, and despite living in the lap of luxury for more than a decade, he still has this driving anger and need for respect. But come on, this is manufactured tension, when we should already be getting to the pre-title fight montage with footage from all 6 other Rocky movies for some reason.
Again, Adonis doesn't want to only be known because of his father. Besides, what the hell is manufactured tension? It's a movie. Every kind of tension is manufactured.
I mean, what I look like? letting you train me while you sit around and die.
I had no idea the 7th movie in a popular boxing series would turn into terms of endearment, but here we are.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the film cliche.
Also, look, I know people might snooze at him watching film and looking for the weaknesses and strength of his opponent, but surely boxing is more than just sparring, running, doing pull-ups, jumping rope, hitting a speed bag, and getting updates on Rocky's chemotherapy. I think we see one shot of them looking at an iPad in this movie.
Actually, boxing, and all other fighting disciplines for that matter, is almost always training. You literally cannot have enough. Unless you're Pai Mei.
Wow, Bianca's there! What a surprise, said no one who has ever seen a film before.
Okay, but why is this a sin though? Oh, you don't have an answer? Got it.
Oh, listen, you guys just keep...
We know.
Leg thing.
Yeah,
The legs, yeah.
it's important.
Rocky has the unreasonable request that if you're in a sexual relationship with Tessa Thompson and or Michael B. Jordan, you somehow can resist having sex with them just because you have the biggest fight of your life coming up. And I'm sorry, Rocky, but we know damn well that this is a vortex of hotness that will wait for no boxing match.
Muhammad Ali famously stated that he wouldn't have sex within 6 weeks of a big fight. Whether or not that has any scientific backing, fighting is as much about mental fortitude as it is physical. If one believes that sex will weaken them before a fight, it will.
Movie rightfully reminds us who the f*** this is, because it's quite possible at least 80% of the audience had forgotten.
It's just the movie being consistent. Besides, you just suggested that the movie was correct for doing this, but you sin it anyway?
This is the main event. 12 rounds of boxing for the light heavyweight championship of the world.
Wait, does the ring announcer's reverb clear up once it gets broadcast through a television?
I'm going to ignore your nonsensical sin to point out that this movie clearly demonstrates that Muhammad Ali was the world champion with a picture of him on the WBC belt, nullifying your earlier sin. If you did your job like you're supposed to, you'd have noticed that.
Nice shorts, boy. Too bad your daddy ain't need to fight in them.
That's a weird insult since Apollo would be like 67 and in no shape to fight.
If you think that's what Ricky meant, just...
Most critics didn't think Creed could make it this far.
Do the announcers have nothing else to talk about other than Adonis wasn't expected to last more than a round? Kellerman and Lampley can't call a fake fight very well at all.
That's funny, coming from the dude whose fake laugh sounds like a lawnmower failing to start. The announcers are simply stating that the critics didn't think he'd make it this far into this fight, this far being this particular round. That seems like something good announcers would bring up. I mean, Max Kellerman is a joke talking about pretty much any other sport, but in boxing, the guy is a savant.
I assure you that even though this punch is in slow motion, Donnie gets knocked down to the canvas, and it lasts way longer than 10 seconds. He has time to think about his entire life and choice scenes from the thin red line while he lies on the canvas. Somewhere Jack Dempsey is rolling in his grave.
Shows how much you know about boxing. A 10 count is not 10 seconds. Besides, this is the movie showing you what motivates Adonis to get back up. It's not real time, genius.
How many fingers? How many of them is... 4.
Is it really in your fighter's best interest to tell them the answer when his eye is completely swollen shut and he could end up getting destroyed because of it? Besides, does this finger holder upper guy not see there's no way he can see those fingers? His f***ing lashes look like a zipper track for his eyelids.
The referee has no way of knowing that Adonis cannot see. If he's answering the questions correctly, then he can see, as far as the ref is concerned. The fight won't be stopped simply because his eye is shut, only that if his shut eye prevents him from being able to defend himself.
I want you to go across this ring and knock that son of a bitch down. Can you do it?
Sure, he can do it. I mean, he hasn't been able to do it with 2 functioning eyes this whole match, but sure, he can do it with only 1 eye now.
This is boxer Chris Algieri. He suffered this eye injury in the first round of a match, but went on to win a 12-round split decision. You just don't know what you're talking about, Jeremy.
They're trading shots in the kind of back and forth action that most of us didn't expect to see.
Except every single person who has ever seen a Rocky movie before.
Except Lampley is referring to the people in universe. So this is another pointless running up the sin counter sin.
Felicia Rashad is so good in this movie, it's a sin she's not in more of it.
I understood what you just said. Really, I did. But this is still sending something you like cliche.
What a finish! If that round goes another 30 seconds, we may have a new champion.
Moral victories.
Is that really a sin? Because this is exactly how the original Rocky ended. And you're not about to tell me that's a sin too. It's called realism. Frankly, you'd have sinned the movie for him winning, calling that a cliche. Seriously, with over 8 million subscribers, I have to question the intelligence of your fan base. Hey, you refer to yourself as a fan of CinemaSins, dummy. I know, it's called self-deprecation, genius. Oh, is that why I sound like I got a pineapple shoved up my ass by Satan? Exactly.
You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit.